Well, the game time is set. The 49ers had already gotten bad news after their win against the Philadelphia Eagles. It's short rest Saturday night or Saturday. They knew Saturday after the win in Philly, but now they know the time. And I suppose that it's good news for the 49ers that they're going to get a few extra hours of rest over the worst case scenario. It's going to be 5 p.m. Pacific time at Seattle on Saturday night. It could have been 1:30. The league could have really screwed the 49ers if they wanted to. They could have given them 1:30 to absolutely minimize every single piece of rest. But instead, they throw the 49ers the tiniest bone of all time. They're going to be 5 p.m. prime time. It's going to be dark up in the Pacific Northwest for kickoff on Fox. So that should be the Tom Brady crew calling the game. Same one that called the game in Philadelphia. Tom Brady, I mean, you could tell the guy's a 49ers fan. He was getting excited. Jeez, he was yelling, talking over the call of Kevin Burkhardt on the touchdown pass from Juwan Jennings to Christian McCaffrey, and then again on the Brock Purdy touchdown pass to win the game to Christian McCaffrey. He's going to be back on the call for the first 49ers Seahawks playoff game since the Richard Sherman tip to Malcolm Butler. Both of those guys ended up being 49ers later in their careers. Crazy arc, and now the 49ers and the Seahawks will meet with an entirely new cast of characters. We just watched what might have been the end of Aaron Rodgers' career, and it was very, very sad. Almost elder abuse in that game. The 42-year-old Rodgers could not deal with the pass rush of the Houston Texans, which you can see here. You know, at this point of the year, you have to be good at something. And I call the Steelers an NPC team, a non-playable character team, because they're not good at anything. They're right here at the middle. They are the epitome of average. And the Texans, even though their offense is not good, and CJ Stroud, that was borderline embarrassing today, couldn't even handle a snap. Their defense is excellent. Their defense is in the same category as the Seattle Seahawks. And because of that, the Houston Texans just rammed right through the NPC team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it was the most boring game of the playoffs so far. I mean, things had been exciting up until the final two games. I thankfully didn't have to watch Justin Herbert against the New England Patriots. The Chargers managed only 3 points, but the first four games were wild, including and finalized by that 49ers game against Philadelphia. All of them had lead changes in the final 3 minutes. All of them had comebacks in the final 3 minutes. Awesome, awesome stuff for the NFL. And then the last couple games, well, it just fell back down to earth. But now we can look at the schedule for the entirety of this coming weekend. I told you that the 49ers and the Seahawks are going to be at 5 o'clock on Saturday. And now I could show you the rest of everything. Get this up on the screen. We have a nice graphic straight from the NFL. And here it is. Maybe I could put it off on the side. Yeah, I think that's a little bit better. So on Saturday, you've got the Bills and the Broncos. That's going to be the undercard to the 49ers and the Seahawks. CBS is going to carry that one at 1:30. These are all Eastern time on the graphics, but I'm going to say it in Pacific time. 1:30 Pacific time for Josh Allen, headed to face the number 1 seed Denver Broncos. So Bo Nix on the other side. I wouldn't be shocked if, I think the Broncos might be slightly favored, but I wouldn't be shocked if that was close to an even spread. Buffalo -1. Yeah, it doesn't shock me that Josh Allen, the obviously better quarterback of those two, has his team favored entering Denver. So you don't often see a number 1 seed coming off of rest as the underdog, but as of right now, the Denver Broncos are the underdog. Then it's 49ers and Seahawks, and the Seahawks have opened up as very big favorites. It's down to -7.5. That's almost as big as the spread when the Rams in week 5 were favored over the skeleton crew of the 49ers. That was 8.5. But the reason it's so big is, I think, fairly simple. The 49ers are at a major, major scheduling disadvantage. And in case you haven't heard, it's not favorable to play on short rest against a team with long rest. Dante Koplowitz Fleming, one of the NFL stats guys, posted this. I don't think he works for the NFL, but he analyzes a lot of this stuff. The Seahawks last played on January 3rd, so they're going to have 13 days in between games. The 49ers played on Sunday or yesterday, so they're going to have 5 days in between games by the time that this Saturday rolls around. Since 1984, teams to have as big of a rest advantage heading into a playoff matchup as the Seahawks are going to have against the 49ers have all won their respective games, 7-0. So the 49ers are going to be facing extremely long odds in this game. In fact, since 1984, at least, this has never been done. A win by the team that's an underdog has never been done. But, I mean, this goes into what we're talking about. The 49ers at this point have embraced the very toughest path possible. Maybe they could have asked the NFL to give them the 1:30 game to make it even harder at this point. It's like, screw it. Just give us the very, very hardest path possible. They obviously didn't ask for that, and they didn't get that. But this is the journey that the 49ers are going to have to take. The mountain is going to have to be the steepest possible mountain. They already have overcome so much. I wrote all about it on the San Francisco Standard. There was this feeling of calm in the locker room, on the sideline, and in the locker room after the game. Yeah, they had already won. But on the sideline, while the Eagles were driving there at the end, I think the 49ers realized that no matter how this season ends, they've overcome so much adversity. They're going to leave feeling that they maximized this season. The Super Bowl champion and the San Francisco 49ers will both leave this 2025 season feeling that they've maximized the campaign. And it might be one and the same team. The Super Bowl champion might be the San Francisco 49ers. Probably won't be. There are very long odds for them to beat the Seattle Seahawks. There are very long odds by extension to win the Super Bowl, but they're going to give this a fighting shot. And there is no opponent, no enemy, no adversary more dangerous than one with nothing to lose. And the 49ers are at a position where they have absolutely nothing to lose. So we can talk all we want about odds. We could also say, never tell me the odds. That's where the 49ers are right now. Let's not even focus on odds. Let's just talk about how much fun they're going to have going down there and trying to upset the Seahawks with such a massive rest disadvantage without George Kittle. Probably without Fred Warner. We probably will be able to confirm that tomorrow, but there's still a possibility until the fat lady sings on that one. Never say never. Obviously, without Nick Bosa, without Michael Williams. I mean, we could go through the list of players that the 49ers won't have through the game, but they're going to give their best against the Seattle Seahawks. Anyway, I want to go back to the schedule because we got to round out the Sunday schedule. This is going to make me determine, okay, when do I fly home from Seattle so I can make sure I cover some of these games. There's a game between the Patriots and the Texans at noon, and then the Rams and the Bears. That's the one that I really, really want to watch. That one is coming at 6:30 Eastern time. So that's 3:30 Pacific. I'm going to want to be in my seat for the entirety of that game between the Rams and the Bears. So I think I'll fly back probably late morning, maybe early afternoon from Seattle on Sunday to make sure I'm back by 3:30 to watch the Rams and the Bears. I could watch this one. I could watch the Texans and the New England Patriots on the way on the plane. That Texans defense is really, really good. I mean, like I said, you have to do at least one thing really, really well to have a shot. And the 49ers do the offense part and the special teams part really well with Brock Purdy as their quarterback and obviously Brant Boyer as their special teams coordinator. And we saw today's game. The Texans do defense really well. The Steelers do nothing well. The Patriots are a very good offensive team that also is bordering on being a very good defensive team. I mean, let's bust open the team tier chart right now. We can talk about all these matchups while we see the context of where these teams are. And this doesn't include the first round of the playoffs. This was only the regular season, but New England played very, very good football on the defensive side of the ball against the Chargers. So New England is an upper right quadrant team. The Texans, when they play them on Sunday, they're a couple tiers down because they don't play good offense. Like I have no belief in CJ Stroud being able to go toe to toe with Drake May. Now, the thing is, he doesn't actually have to fight Drake May directly. He has to fight the New England defense, which just shut down Justin Herbert. But that Houston Texans offense gets to take on Drake May, and that Houston Texans defense gets to take on Drake May. And that's one of those situations where when you have that kind of edge rush with Will Anderson and with Daniil Hunter and Azeez Al-Shire at the linebacker position, and you've got good corners and good safeties like the Texans do, it's a defense that's near the Seattle Seahawks in terms of overall efficiency. Any given game, you can hold that opposing offense to under 17 points. And then even CJ Stroud, who isn't a very good quarterback, he might be able to guide you, back you into a victory. So that's how that Sunday game between Houston and New England sets up. And then, of course, it's the very fun nightcap between the Rams and the Bears. The Bears are improving, and they're such a funky team because of how well they play late in games. It's now 7 games they've won when trailing after the 2-minute warning. That's an NFL record. 6 was already an NFL record. So Chicago is dangerous, especially against teams that might be beaten up and tired at this point of the year. And I think that the Rams might qualify for that. The Rams are not playing their best football. In fact, if I ran some splits over the past month and a half, the Rams would not be up here defensively. The Rams are very middling defensively. They've given up a lot of yards. They've given up points in some instances. I mean, didn't they give up 31 to the Carolina Panthers? So there's going to be an opportunity for Chicago to score some points and move the ball against the Rams. This is a gettable defense, and I think that Ben Johnson is going to see that. He's going to try to deploy Caleb Williams in the most effective way possible. And on the other side of the ball, Matthew Stafford, I think Matthew Stafford is the definition of a system quarterback. He's somebody who needs a run game to succeed. He's somebody that needs pass protection to succeed, like really good pass protection because he can't move. He's somebody who needs Sean McVay to succeed. Matthew Stafford was middling in efficiency throughout essentially his entire career in Detroit. Then he comes over to the Rams and he has Matthew Stafford calling plays for him, and all of a sudden things get a lot better. So he needs all of those things. And, one thing that he probably needs above all else is good weather, indoor conditions, right? I mean, a dome quarterback. He was a dome quarterback for the Detroit Lions, and I would argue that Matthew Stafford is a dome quarterback now, getting to play under the roof at SoFi Stadium. He's not going to get that in Chicago. In fact, let's type in Chicago weather. Let's see what it's going to be like over the 10 days. Saturday, or this is Sunday. Sunday in Chicago. This is a night game in Chicago, too, or it's going to be later in the day. It's going to be dark for most of it, since it's starting at 2:30 Central Time. So for the back half of that game, you're going to have darkness in Chicago. No, actually, it's starting 3:30 Pacific Time. So it's going to be 5:30 Central Time in Chicago. Yeah, so that's going to be dark the whole way, and it's going to be snowing, at least snow in the forecast. Daytime high of 16 degrees, nighttime low of 6 degrees in Chicago on Sunday. So everything about Matthew Stafford and perfect conditions, indoor weather, throw those out the window, because at the very least, it's going to be very cold in Chicago, and it's probably going to be snowing a little bit in Chicago. And I think that might give an edge to the Chicago Bears, because, again, LA has not been good in those kinds of weather conditions. The 49ers game, I'm typing in Seattle weather, see if there might be any rain in the forecast in the Pacific Northwest. Nope, it's going to be sunny on the West Coast all week. It's going to be sunny and 60 plus in San Francisco over the course of this week, and it's going to be sunny in between 45 and 50 during the day up in Seattle all week. So sun along the entire Pacific coast, but it's just going to be about 10 to 15 degrees cooler in Seattle than it is in the Bay Area. So if you're headed up to the 49ers game, daytime high of 49 degrees on Saturday, nighttime low of 37. Obviously a little cold, but not East Coast cold, not Chicago cold. It's going to be a good 40 degrees warmer than Chicago in Seattle. Then I'm also very curious about Denver weather for Josh Allen because it's going to be sunny in Denver. There should be nothing to worry about snow-wise, but I think that Josh Allen is an absolute tank that is built to succeed in those really crazy Buffalo-like weather conditions. But it's going to be 44 high, sunny on Saturday for Denver. New England, that could be treacherous. Let's see Boston weather. That's on Sunday for the Patriots against the Texans. It's also probably going to be sunny. So the one snow game, the one weather game that you're going to have out of all these matchups this weekend, it's going to be the Bears and the Rams on Sunday night. So that's a tough break for the Rams. They get the bad weather in Chicago, and I'm sure nobody really feels sorry for them. The NFC West, for the first time in history, 3 of the 4 teams in a divisional round from one conference are from the same division. The Chicago Bears, the Chicago Bears are the odd man out in this NFC playoff bracket. It is the 49ers, it is the Seahawks, and it is the Rams. 3 out of 4 NFC West teams. They have combined to go 40-7 against teams not in their division this year. That is not quite as good as the record that we saw from the NFC North during the regular season last year, but the NFC North just crapped the bed in the playoffs last year. The Packers lost right away to the Eagles. The Vikings lost right away to the Rams. That was the game held in Arizona during the LA wildfires. And the Detroit Lions, who had earned the first round bye, they just got smoked by the Washington Commanders at home. So the NFC North didn't win a single playoff game last year, which makes me think that it was a rather overrated division over the course of the regular season. The NFC West is 2-0 in these playoffs. The Seahawks will play their first game against the 49ers. And if the 49ers, you need a reason to take solace in anything as a 49ers fan with this short rest. The Washington Commanders came in and absolutely spanked the Detroit Lions. And I believe that the Commanders went Sunday with their wild card playoff win last year to Saturday, and it was a Saturday night game. It was the game that the 49ers and the Seahawks will be playing when they went into Detroit and whipped on the Lions. Now, the Detroit Lions were the opposite of the Seattle Seahawks, and that they didn't have much of a defense, especially after Aiden Hutchinson went down last year. But they had an epically good offense for most of the season. That being said, Jared Goff threw, I think, 2 interceptions. He turned it over at least once, and his defense wasn't able to stop a nosebleed, and the Commanders were able to win in a shootout. For me, when I look at the 49ers and the Seahawks on Saturday night, I envision the 49ers' very narrow path to win this game as 7.5-point underdogs. It is the prototypical deep water game. What do I mean by that? Well, sharks take their prey into deep water. The 49ers are obviously nowhere as healthy as the Seahawks. Because of that, they're not as good as the Seahawks. Like, we know this. Seattle is favored in this game. Seattle beat them 13-3 at Levi's just last week. I think the 49ers were better than the Seahawks when they were healthy. We saw that in week 1 when they went on the road and statistically dominated Seattle and won 17-13. But now the tables have turned, and the 49ers, they're going to have to probably find their way to a greasy win in this game. There is a very, very narrow path when it just comes to clean execution in this game, and it would involve San Francisco manning up against the run, stepping up with Eric Kendricks, Garrett Wallow, maybe Fred Warner, Marquise Siegel, a lot of these new pieces on defense, and they have to stop the Seattle run game. And then on offense, they have to play a clean game and squeeze out 17 points. I think if you do that, then maybe you can win 17-13 again like you did week one, but it's not likely that this defense minus Nick Bosa and probably minus Fred Warner is able to hold Seattle to 13 points. I know that they did in week 18, but the Seahawks missed 2 field goals. Remember that. So I think that the likeliest pathway to victory involves opportune turnovers for the 49ers, maybe even involves a special team swing. Doesn't necessarily have to be a special team score, but a big field position swing. Something of that sort, something that changes the math of the game in an unexpected way in the 49ers' favor. The last time that they were this big of an underdog in the postseason was in 2021 or January 2022, when the 49ers went into Green Bay, icy conditions similar to what the Rams are having to do heading up to Chicago, but probably even a little bit colder. And the 49ers had played the week prior. They had beaten Dallas, number 2 seed. They flew back to the Bay Area. Then they flew to Wisconsin. And they played the number 1 seeded Packers. And we might have seen the end of Aaron Rodgers. Well, this was basically the end of Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. He would go back for one more year, but they didn't even make the playoffs. This was great. Aaron Rodgers' final playoff game in Green Bay. The Packers were about 6 or 7 point favorites in this game. And, people didn't give the 49ers a chance. Jimmy Garoppolo was dealing with 2 injuries to his throwing arm, one to, I believe, his thumb, one to his shoulder that would require surgery in the offseason. The 49ers were riding Deebo Samuel heavy because offensively they did have Brandon Ayuk as well, but that offense, it was Samuel, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk. In retrospect, that seems like a hell of a crew of weapons compared to what the 49ers are running out there now. They didn't have Christian McCaffrey yet, which is a big boost for the 49ers now. But the defense was really, really leaking oil for San Francisco at that point. But what they did is they turned the game early with a greasy takeaway. Do you guys remember Mercedes Lewis, the tight end for the Green Bay Packers? He caught a short pass. The Green Bay was up 7-0 at the point. They had scored on their scripted drive against the 49ers to open the game. They were driving again. They had a chance to make this a 2-possession lead. I don't think that the 49ers would have come back in this game had they been down 2 scores. The conditions were windy. They were icy. The 49ers quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, was hurt. I mean, this was not a game that San Francisco, I think, was going to be able to come back big in. And Fred Warner stripped Mercedes Lewis of the football, and the 49ers fell on it. It was a turnover that changed the math of the game. And they needed another one later on. That allowed the 49ers to go into the locker room down, I think, just 7-0. I think they got a blocked field goal as well from Jordan Willis, which ensured that this remained a one-possession game. Then in the second half, the 49ers were able to finally get it into the end zone thanks to the blocked punt. Jordan Willis again blocked the punt. Talanoa Hufanga picked it up and scored. And the irony of that game was that the 49ers had a bad special teams unit throughout that regular season, but they won that game in large part. They tied it at least due to the special teams, due to the fact that Willis was able to get the blocked field goal and the blocked punt, and Talanoa Hufanga scooped it up and scored. So when you're a touchdown underdog, you almost always need something like that to break in your favor. What was so remarkable about the 49ers win over the Eagles yesterday is that they were nearly a touchdown underdog. So this turned into a complete aberration of a game when you look at the normal rules. They were, a 5.5, 6 point underdog? The 49ers lost the turnover battle against the Eagles. They lost by 2. It was -2 in the turnover department. They didn't get a massive swing on special teams. I know that Philadelphia missed an extra point, but so did Eddie Pinheiro. So did the 49ers. So that played out about even. Yet the 49ers still found a way to overcome their status as underdogs, which just goes to show you how damn good Brock Purdy was. In fact, as I'm watching the Texans and I'm watching the Green Bay and the Pittsburgh Steelers today, it was yet another game that should just make 49ers fans eminently thankful that Brock Purdy is their quarterback. I mean, what a disaster this would have been had the 49ers had CJ Stroud as their quarterback, not just yesterday, but throughout the whole season. What a disaster it would have been if the 49ers had Aaron Rodgers, an absolute statue. I said it was like elder abuse. He's 42 years old. What a disaster it would have been if they had him as the quarterback. The game-winning touchdown yesterday was Brock Purdy feeling the pocket, moving up in the pocket. Christian McCaffrey was the last read for him on the progression. Christian McCaffrey was eligible number 5. Purdy had to scan right to left, finds Christian McCaffrey to the left. But if he's statue Aaron Rodgers, or if he's unaware CJ Stroud, I mean, if he's CJ Stroud, he probably can't even catch the snap. The snap probably slips through his fingers. But or Jordan Love couldn't handle a snap either in that final game against the Chicago Bears. But if Brock Purdy is either of those two quarterbacks with either their lack of awareness or the lack of mobility or both, I think Rodgers actually suffered from both in this game. The 49ers aren't getting those passes off, and they're definitely not scoring 23 points against one of the best defenses, the Super Bowl champion defense in the Philadelphia Eagles. So there's a reason why Purdy ranked at the very top of the league this year. If you look at the composite rankings, number 1 in the whole league. He is elite. He's at the very top of the heap. He is the primary reason why the 49ers are in this position right now. He was able to carry that offense in tandem with Kyle Shanahan yesterday. You know, everybody wants to give credit to Kyle Shanahan today, and he deserves a boatload of it, but it's always the play caller quarterback combination. That battery at the top of a unit has to deliver the way that Shanahan and Purdy delivered yesterday to overcome the deficiencies that the 49ers did face. You guys have a little bit of homework. Those of you who joined me earlier, maybe you've already done it, but want you to go check out the article on the San Francisco Standard. I'll probably push it out here one more time. Right now I have the weather reports all up on the screen, but I want the article up there. This is from the 49ers locker room yesterday. Wrote this late at night in a hotel room in Philadelphia before I flew out today, made it back home. Now, tomorrow morning, off again to practice. The 49ers, actually, they won't practice tomorrow. It looks like there is no scheduled practice tomorrow. That is how crazy this short rest is. 3 short rest games or short rest weeks in 4 games for San Francisco, meaning that there is no media availability to watch practice. I'll be in the locker room tomorrow. I'll talk to the guys. They're obviously going to be in for treatment again and in for meetings, but to rest their bodies, the 49ers have decided on no practice tomorrow. Maybe some kind of walkthrough that we don't even go to as the media tomorrow. Then they'll practice on Wednesday, then Thursday, and then Friday is going to be the travel day to Seattle. Meanwhile, the Seahawks have had a full run-up. They will have had a full run-up to all this because of the bye week. And, you know, on one end, you could argue, okay, well, Seattle earned the 1 seed, so they should have that bye and an easier path. But this has gotten to the point of extremity where, yeah, the Seahawks have their 13 days, but the 49ers will have only 5, when the NFL could have easily flipped it and put San Francisco and Seattle on Sunday to at least give the 49ers the benefit of 6. I understand that you like to put the 1 seed on Saturday because that gives the 1 seed, if they win, an extra day for the NFC Championship. And if the 49ers find a way to upset Seattle, they'll enjoy that benefit. They'll get an extra day for the NFC Championship versus either the Bears or the Rams. But it just seems to me that the shortage of rest on the front end for the 49ers, there's no way that you can possibly justify that as not being a competitive disadvantage. It definitely is for the 49ers, but it's a level of rest disadvantage that has not been overcome since at least 1984. But I would also argue that no team has overcome the 49ers injury toll in the history of the NFL. No team has been at this position at 13-5 heading into the divisional round with a chance to knock off the number 1 seed after losing their QB1 for half the season, after losing their top edge rusher for the whole year, their top linebacker for almost the whole year. We'll see if and when Fred Warner comes back, losing their top edge-setting run defender and first-round pick. That's Micah Williams. Losing their all-world tight end. That's George Kittle. He's also missed quite a bit of time this season. No team has overcome that much injury loss to be in the position the 49ers are at now. So that's why I will constantly bring Han Solo into this mix. Never tell me the odds. Never tell these 49ers the odds. They are embracing the very, very hardest path that there is. All right, 49ers Seahawks, 5 o'clock on Saturday. It could have been the 1:30 game. It could have been worse, but that's the game time. That's it from here. The next round of the playoffs is set. Everybody hit that subscribe button. We are plowing toward 100,000 real subscribers, moving toward 99,000 first. You guys have been signing up in droves today. So really appreciate that. And I will talk to you very, very soon.